Hello everybody. Are you aware that according to National Geographic, Americans put almost 190 million tons of waste into landfills every single year, much of which is harmful waste produced by average households that isn't properly disposed of? Austin's Household Hazardous Waste Recycling Center, in association with our city's Zero Waste Initiative, aims to reduce our contribution to that figure by 90% over the next several years. My name is Daniel Sullivan. I volunteer at the Household Hazardous Waste Recycling Center, and I've also done exhaustive research on the facility. Today, I want to tell you about what we do, as well as some of the positive impacts it has on the environment, as well as the lives of volunteers. And I want to highlight some of the negative repercussions of a continued lack of volunteer work with us, in the hope that I can convince some of you to come and volunteer at our facility. One last thing before I begin. I have a lot to cover today, so if you guys have any questions, I'd ask you to please hold them until the end. So Austin Zero Waste Initiative is a plan throughout the city to increase our recycling rates and reduce the use of non-recyclable materials, and also make sure that we properly dispose of all waste products coming out of our city. And importantly also is to ensure that people know how to do so. Much of the hands-on work is done at the Household Hazardous Waste Recycling Center, located at the south side of town. One of the main functions of our facility is to allow people to come in from all over the city every Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon, as listed on your handout, and drop off any harmful waste that they may have accumulated. Then the workers and volunteers at the facility sort through that material and make sure that whatever can be recycled or reused is put to proper use, and that everything else that could be harmful is disposed of in an environmentally friendly fashion. They have, however, come up with some pretty interesting ways of reusing things that are dropped off. For instance, since so many half-empty paint cans are brought in, they've begun mixing them all together in huge drums to make generally brown or beige tones. They offer for free for people to pick up to use to paint their houses or to renovate their buildings. They also sort out any still usable chemicals, like common things generally like bleach or Windex, that people can come get again from our reuse store for free so that they can use them to their full potential instead of allowing them to go to waste. So there are numerous benefits to something like this. For instance, as one of our stated goals, we've managed to begin reducing our contribution to landfills, especially in the sector of harmful waste. This is good for the environment because it's ensuring that our toxic materials don't make their way into the ecosystem surrounding us. And it makes sure that wildlife doesn't come in contact with these materials, which can happen if it's improperly disposed of. Also, working with us has some benefits for any volunteers. For instance, anyone environmentally conscious or just interested in living a greener lifestyle will feel greatly rewarded working with us because it allows you to have a hands-on role in large-scale recycling and green disposal activities. Also, as your college students, you know that volunteer work looks really great on a resume and helps you get a job, so that's important too. Still, despite all that, we seem to have a lack of volunteers, or even people interested in working to have a green lifestyle in any way. Evidence of this is already apparent. Landfills are overflowing. Water in some regions is becoming toxic because people carelessly pour dangerous chemicals down the drain. All of this because people are unwilling to sacrifice a little bit to create a greener, more sustainable lifestyle. And so the city of Austin and the world at large is in dire need of more people willing to volunteer in sustainability and recycling services like ours, or at least more people willing to create a more sustainable lifestyle. If that can happen, I can see a more sustainable future. A future where we no longer dump millions of tons of waste into landfills every year, because the excess materials of one day can be recycled and made into the building materials for the next day. In this future, we no longer allow the toxic waste that we use day to day to make its way into the environment surrounding us and harm our wildlife. This future is achievable, but only with the help of people like you. And remember that helping in our facility isn't so much a sacrifice of your time, but a trade-off. Because while you have to give up a little bit of time and effort, you're benefited by the knowledge that the work you've done goes towards keeping our environment clean and making our city's way of life much more sustainable. Not to mention it looks good on your resume, which is always important. So I want to ask you to please consider volunteering with us, whether it just be once a week, once a month, or once a semester, whatever you have time for, and help us achieve a greater goal. That's all I have to say today. So I want to thank you guys for listening, and I'd be glad to answer any of your questions now.